At a time when states are making great efforts to gain and preserve their independence, the idea of two existing states unifying into one might feel a bit unusual. Since the end of the Cold War, there have only been two instances of countries merging into a single state: the creation of the Republic of Yemen and the reunification of Germany, both which happened around 3 decades ago. However, last Sunday, Moldova's President Maia Sandu said in an interview that if a referendum were held, she would vote in favour of unification with neighbouring Romania, as a way of protecting the EU candidate country from Russian interference. Sandu's not alone in supporting this idea either. Polling suggests that around 1/3 of Romanians and Moldovans are in favour, and in a warm response, an official from Romania's presidential office stated that Bucharest is also open to the possibility. So in this video, we're going to take a look at why some think Moldova and Romania could unite to become one country, and whether unification is at all possible. Never miss an episode and always feel in the loop by subscribing and ringing the bell. Let's start with a quick history lesson. The region that is today Romania and Moldova was once part of the Principality of Moldavia, formed in the 14th century, which covered both sides of the Prut River. In 1812, the eastern half of Moldavia, known as Bessarabia, was annexed by the Russian Empire, separating it from the rest of Moldavia. In 1859, Moldavia's remaining western half and Wallachia formed a political union, and in 1881 they created the independent Kingdom of Romania. After the Russian Empire collapsed during World War I, Bessarabia voted to unite with the Kingdom of Romania in 1918. The Kingdom of Romania also expanded to include Bukovina and Transylvania. Over the next 2 decades, modern-day Moldova and modern-day Romania were officially one country, the Kingdom of Romania. That was until 1940, when Romania was forced to cede both Bukovina and eastern Moldova to the USSR under the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. By the end of the war, the Kingdom of Romania, which would become just Romania in 1947, had recovered Bukovina, but Moldova was lost to the USSR and became the Moldovan Soviet Socialist Republic. Fearing reunification, the USSR actively promoted a separate Moldovan identity, meaning that according to Soviet census data from the late 20th century, only around 2,000 people in a population of around 4 million identified as Romanians, despite the close cultural overlap. It also meant that even though the Moldovan and Romanian languages were barely distinguishable, Soviet policy declared that the two languages were different, and to emphasize this distinction, Moldovan had to be written in the Cyrillic alphabet. Since the fall of the USSR, Romania and the newly independent Moldova have had very divergent paths. Romania went on to join the EU and NATO in 2004, while Moldova has struggled to break out of Russia's orbit. Moldova only became an EU candidate country in June 2022 and has struggled to resist Russian interference in its politics and break its economic dependence on Russia, which maintains over 1,000 troops in Transnistria, a breakaway pro-Russian state within Moldova. Moldova also remains one of Europe's poorest countries, with a per capita income of around roughly 1/5 that of Romania. As a result of these economic and geopolitical challenges, some Moldovans view unification as a potential way to ease these pressures. Speaking in an interview last week, President Maia Sandu, who defeated the pro-Russian bloc in last year's parliamentary elections for a second consecutive time and has strongly pushed for Moldova's accession into the EU, made precisely this argument. She said that it is becoming increasingly difficult for a small country like Moldova to survive as a democracy and a sovereign state, and to resist Russia, adding that she would vote in favour of reunification. Sandu's not alone in supporting this idea either. Several Moldovan parties, including the PPDA, which holds 6 seats in parliament, have publicly declared unification to be one of their political goals. According to recent polling, around 1/3 of Moldovans are also keen for unification, although support is considerably lower in Transnistria and the relatively pro-Russian region of Gagauzia. But pragmatism obviously isn't the only reason for unification. The two countries also share cultural and linguistic ties, and since gaining independence from the USSR, the number of people in Moldova declaring themselves to be Romanian or Romanian speakers in Moldova has increased markedly. Excluding Transnistria, roughly 8% of people living in Moldova today identify as Romanian, compared to essentially 0 in Soviet times. while the percentage of Moldovans citing Romanian as their mother tongue has essentially doubled since 2004. While in Romania, around 30% of the population also supports unification, although it's less clear what concrete benefits Romania would gain, particularly given the costs of integrating a significantly weaker state. That said, unification would add nearly 1 million working-age Moldovans to Romania's labour force, which could provide a notable economic boost at a time when Romania's population is rapidly declining. For context, Romania's population has fallen from around 23 million in 1990 to just under 19 million today, largely due to emigration of young people to more prosperous EU countries and a persistently low birth rate. However, the way we see it, unification still feels unlikely. For starters, it feels a bit unnecessary. Moving between the two countries is already pretty easy, and today over 850,000 Moldovans, roughly a third of the entire population, already have Romanian citizenship. This will become even easier if Moldova joins the EU and then Schengen. So given the complexities involved in unification, it might just be easier to keep things as they are. But a more important reason is that Moldova poses a bit of a security threat to Romania, as unification would require Romania taking in up to approximately 250,000 Russians, which some Romanians fear would open the door to significant Russian interference in Romanian politics. On top of that, Romania is both a NATO and EU member, and it doesn't seem likely that either will be keen on accepting Moldova without sorting the elephant in the room first, the frozen conflict in Transnistria. Since winning the election last year, Sandu's government has been working on a plan to reintegrate Transnistria with the help of the US and EU. Although the details of that plan aren't public yet, it will almost certainly centre on the withdrawal of Russian troops from the region. While Russia will undoubtedly not be too happy about this, Moldova does hold some significant leverage here. Transnistria's economic situation has deteriorated rapidly over the past year after Russia decided to halt gas supplies to the region. So Bucharest's promise of stability, security, and EU energy assistance could be enough to convince Transnistrian authorities. Whether or not you believe that the new year brings a new you, there's always pressure to find some way to better yourself when January rolls round. But where do you even start? Building new healthy habits isn't always easy to jump straight into. So that's why we always turn to Brilliant. That's because Brilliant focuses on real transformative learning, all on adapting to your own established skill level. It starts you at the right level based on your background, designs practice sets and reviews, all personalized for you. Brilliant helps you to advance at your ideal pace, giving you the best chance to stick to your learning goals. For example, even if you're not a maths person, Brilliant will push you towards achieving what you didn't think was possible. Their comprehensive catalogue takes you from foundational maths through to algebra, all the way to college-level calculus, with more and more courses being added each month. Brilliant has truly helped us to expand our skill set and kept us coming back every day to create those habits which help us grow. Suddenly, it's not so hard to stick to your resolutions. To start the new year right and begin or continue your learning journey, you can try Brilliant for free for a full 30 days. Just go to brilliant.org/TLDR, scan the QR code on screen, or click the link in the description. And Brilliant has also given our viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which gives you unlimited access to everything on Brilliant.